Hi guys, it's James from the Magic Rhombus here, and we got my friend Russ here today.
Hey guys.
We're going to be doing another EDH deck tech video, this time with his general of Kamahl, Fist of Krosa.
Just grab him here.
And then,
here we go. Ooh, in 24-bit color goodness.
yes.
Here he is. The reason I decided to pick Kamahl as a mono green general is basically personal preference. I understand that there are some better mono green commanders out there, notably like Omnath. But the reason I decided to go with Kamahl, again, personal preference, and he's got two really useful abilities. If I could just get him up close here. Here we go. The first one, animating lands. It's not limited to yours, so you can animate lands in response to wrath effects, which is really handy. And the other is instant speed overrun, and that's just retardiculous.
Yeah, I've died many times to just him overrunning 4 or 5 times. And then, yeah.
So there's the man at the front of all of this here. I guess we'll start with the lands. It runs, I believe, 34 or 35. I'm not entirely sure, but it starts off with a plethora of, oops, a bunch of basic forests.
Yeah.
Just throw those over there.
Every mono green deck runs them.
You can't be good without forests. Alright, and now for non-basics, we have a couple of givens, like Oran Reef the Vastwood, Colony Garden, which comes in tap, but it makes a dude.
Yeah.
Tranquil Thicket, it's land when you need it, and a card when you don't.
Yeah.
A couple other, I call them baby non-basics, because they don't really have a huge effect on the game. Llanowar Reborn and Sapsea Forest. If you're bored and have nothing to do, you can just gain life off of Sapsea. And Llanowar comes in with a counter. Not terribly relevant, but...
Yeah. You could grab some if it's there. It's just a good non-basic.
Of course, you have to have a Moss War Bridge.
Yeah, and green.
Because I make big creatures frequently.
Especially with Kamahl, who can overrun a bunch of times.
Yeah, and then I run 3 that don't tap for green mana. Obviously, Temple of the False God, because it's a double. Winding Canyons, so that my creatures have flash. Really late in the game, it's pretty amusing when you can flash in something huge or flash in Kamahl and then have enough left to overrun. Very disruptive. And probably my favorite land that I run doesn't actually tap for mana. It's Arena, because green is starved for removal, and it has lots of big creatures. And this is the best thing to do when you need removal and you have big creatures. Let's just bring it up close there. 3 and tap. Tap a creature you control, and then your opponent taps a creature they control, and they fight each other.
Now, you can still fight a creature that is already tapped.
Yes, because tapping the creatures is not part of the activation cost.
Yes.
Which makes that very handy.
Yes. And if you had Gaia's Cradle, we'd assume that it would be in here.
Of course, yes, Gaia's Cradle. Even though Gaia's Cradle gets insanely stupid when you have a lot of tokens.
Yeah.
This deck doesn't run.
How much is Cradle? Like 30 right now?
It's dumb. It's not worth me spending money on a land. What should we do now? Let's go to enchantments next, because enchantments are the foundation of any serviceable green deck. Just ask Enchantress. We'll kick things off with the always awesome Rancor.
Always good. Comes back.
Comes back. Recurring. Get those out of here.
Even if it didn't give +2 and it just gave trample, it would still be good.
Yeah. So there's Rancor. Cream of the Crop, one of my favorites. What it lets you do is, whenever a creature enters under your control, you look at the top cards of your library equal to its power. Pick one to keep and put the rest on the bottom. Very handy for only 1 in a green.
Yes.
The next thing is Gaia's Touch, which is it's really ramping. It's double green. It lets you have an explore every turn as long as the extra land is a basic forest, and you can sacrifice it to get the mana back that you spent on it. So no one's ever going to waste removal on this.
Yeah.
Well, dumb people do, but that's besides the point.
Disenchant.
Yeah, Disenchant. Speaking of Disenchant,
the best disenchant in the game.
The best disenchant. No, I do have a Seal of Primordium, or Seal of Natural Eyes, as Rich Hagan would call it. I do have an awesome green draw engine. People are probably familiar with it if they're watching. It's the Sylvan Library Abundance combo. Sylvan Library will let you draw 2 extra cards, but if you want to keep them, you have to pay 4 life each. And Abundance lets you replace any instance of drawing with calling land or non-land, and then you just reveal until you get one of that type. So with this, it's like, I'll take 3 non-land cards, please.
Or 2 non-lands and a land, so you never miss your land drop
Never
again.
ever miss your land drop. Although I've been stricken with pretty bad luck when I call land, and then I end up going through like Primeval Titan and Kodama's Reach
And other things.
Other stuff. Good stuff. Bear Umbra, because untapping lands is dirty.
Especially with Kamahl, where you can swing and then pump, untap, and pump again.
Yeah. Next up, we have Wild Pair. Once we get to the creatures, you'll see why I run this. Whenever you cast a creature from your hand, you search your library for something with equal combined power and toughness, and just drop it straight onto the battlefield. You can make some pretty sick pairs with this, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Other things that are good with creatures, Defense of the Heart.
If you're running a green deck, I suggest running that.
Absolutely.
Because
its effect is really, really dumb.
Isn't it if they have 3 or more?
Yep, 3 or more, and then you crack this, and then you grab 2 creatures.
Yeah,
and just
so
drop them.
Turn 4 you drop that, and if they have 3 creatures by your next upkeep, then it's like, I'll get Primeval Titan and Vorinclex. And yeah.
And then you just do stupid things. And rounding off the enchantments, we have Asceticism, because protection is crucial. We really don't have a ton of ways to protect our dudes.
And the regen is awesome.
It's relevant. It's another way to recover from Wrath if Kamahl happens to not be out.
Yes.
These chairs are really squeaky.
And then coming up next is his Harrow. Well, his instance. We got a Harrow, which is classic instant speed land ramp at the cost of a land.
Yep. Vines of Vastwood. Gotta have Vines of Vastwood.
Yeah. The only thing with Harrow is if they counter it by an EDH, it's not that big of a deal. Vines of Vastwood, gotta have it.
It's insane tech.
Instant speed Shroud for 1. So they try and
it stops equips.
Yeah.
For my opponent. Stops them from killing my guys.
Yeah, and then kick in, they get +4/+4. That's really good.
Green counter spells. What is this blasphemy?
Avoid Fate. It's 1 green. Counter target instant or aura spell that targets a permanent you control.
Yeah, it's very situational, but everyone the fact that I run it, everyone thinks twice before targeting my stuff.
Yeah, so like Doomblade, nope. Mind Control, nope. Corrupted Conscience, nope. For 1 green. We got Naturalize.
Of course. Gotta have Naturalize.
Gotta have Naturalize.
And it's Big Brother.
And it's big better brother, Krosa Grip.
My sexy FNM Krosa Grip.
So it's like get on my level.
Kill the top.
Yeah. Kill Sensei's Divining Top.
Plummet's a bit of an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Green struggles against flyers.
Well, it's not that they struggle. They have a lot of reachers, but it's not like you run a lot of reachers.
No, not at all. But Plummet it's green removal, and there are enough things with flying that justifies me running it.
Just Dragons, Baneslayers.
Chroma.
A Chroma.
Both the Chromas.
Then we got Primal Bellow.
Primal Bellow is kind of a win more card, but it's nice when you swing with Kamahl at an empty field, and rather than wasting all your mana pumping, you just Primal Bellow.
And then waste all your mana pumping.
Yeah, there you go. Beast Within.
Beast Within. Probably the best green removal.
I noticed the card you saved for last.
Yeah. We got Fog.
Oh.
This card.
It's my favorite card in the
This
deck.
card.
Give it to me. I don't want you to break it.
That card has saved him so many times against...
Fog is helpful for when you're overextending, because it lets you overextend. And then all you have to do is just keep that card in your hand and ask them, do you think it's Fog? Huh? Do you?
And
9 times out of 10, if I tell people I have Fog, I have it.
yeah, but like people that like if we play against people that don't expect Fog, like, oh, no one's gonna run Fog in a green deck. Well, then
It happens.
it happens, and then they flip out.
And then I get taken seriously, despite the fact that I run a mono green deck.
that isn't Azusa or...
Yeah, Azusa. Bunch of tryhards.
Alright,
Let's do sorceries next. I got a couple of bomby sorceries. This is not one of them, though, Kodama's Reach. All it does is ramp. It's Cultivate, but it's strictly better. Because it's arcane.
You can splice into it. If you had anything...
If I had anything worth splicing. Let's see, another one, Regrowth, so that I can recycle all of my good stuff. No, it's not foil, because the foil is absurdly expensive.
Yeah.
Gleeful Sabotage, it's sorcery speed naturalized, but I like it because you can conspire, tap 2 green creatures.
Yeah, it's good if you need it.
Get another one. What else do we have here? Harmonize.
Green draw.
Green draw. Green concentrate. I catch a little bit of flack for running this, but Triumph of the Hordes is an alternate win condition in case I'm up against a life gain deck. James.
I don't have a life gain deck.
Yeah.
I gain absurd amounts of life, but it's not a life gain deck.
You know what I mean. Tell me you haven't lost to this at least once.
I don't think I have.
Moving on.
I don't think that it's came
Bramble
up.
Crush for butchering the English language, blowing up James's equipments.
And lands.
I've never blown up a land with Bramble Crush before.
You've probably blown up Sunhome.
Okay, maybe. Okay, I'll cave on that one. Primal Command because it's just amazing. The 7 life doesn't really come into play when you're in a large
EDH,
format
yeah.
like EDH, but spinning permanence is nice. Tutoring creatures is what I use it for the most, and if it's really late in the game, I'll do a library or a graveyard shuffle.
Yeah.
Green Sun Zenith
Gotta have it if you're running mono green.
because green deck.
Yeah.
Genesis Wave again because green deck.
Genesis Wave for 15 I hear is good.
Yeah, except when people hoard all of their copy spells. James, again. And rounding out my sorcery is Praetor's Council because it's win the game. It says it right there. Return all cards from your graveyard, win the game.
Yes. Especially, like, if it's late in the game and your graveyard has 20 cards, when you play that, it's... I don't think you've ever lost when you Praetor Counciled. Like that, unless
if I have, I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
unless someone copied it and got the same thing.
Yeah.
Or you got ID Crisis right after.
Let's not talk about ID Crisis. I was in a good mood until you mentioned that. Artifacts. Not very many, surprisingly enough. The ones I run are good.
Yeah.
Such as Birthing Pod, which, if anyone plays Standard, it doesn't really need an introduction. It's basically you work your way up the chain, the CMC chain, and you turn all of your dead guys, or dud guys, into threats.
Also combos with things.
Yeah. The best equipment in the game, and the only one that I run, Umezawa's Jit.
In this type of deck, there's no other equipment that you would need one.
I wouldn't really, yeah, because everything's big.
Yeah.
And my last artifact is Gauntlet of Power. Why Gauntlet of Power and not Cage Sun?
Because Gauntlet of Power gives a +1/+1.
Well, so does Cage Sun. But the reason I run this is not a lot of people in our group play Basic Forests.
Yeah.
So I say it's a preference call whether you run Gauntlet or Cage Sun. Cage Sun is cheaper. So
yeah.
if money's an issue.
Well, Gauntlet looks cooler.
Well, yeah, because mine's shiny.
Yeah.
Moving on. What else do we have?
Let's go on to your Planeswalkers.
All right, Planeswalkers. I run 3, or 2, depending on your perspective. Garruk Wildspeaker. Big ol' Garruk, as I call him. Garruk Primal Hunter.
He's fun to drop when you know you have a 20/20 creature and is like, oh, I'll go -3.
Yep.
And kill myself and draw 20 cards.
Yep. I've never used his ultimate before because no one's really dumb enough to let him get that far.
It's because
Deservedly so.
in EDH, if you get his ultimate, you win.
Yeah. And Karn because he's green removal.
Yes.
I've never restarted the game with Karn, nor do I think I will ever.
No.
Because that's
There's no need.
Yeah. So like I'll use him to rip cards out of people's hands. So those are the 3 Planeswalkers.
And we're at 14 minutes 30 seconds, so we'll go to your creatures in the next video.
Sounds good to me. We know we got a lot.
Yes. It's green.
Stick around.
Happens. And then possibly later in the day we'll have some legacy videos.
Sweet.
Maybe
I love Legacy.
maybe a Legacy Deck Tech by me and Legacy Deck Tech by Russ, and then maybe some Legacy matches. So stay tuned.